And now, your selection. Meet the stars.
In telling the story of my father's life, it's impossible to separate fact from the fiction, the man from the myth. The best I can do is to tell it the way he told me.
The theme of the movie about, in terms of Will's exploration of who his father is as to what's real and what's not real. And, you know, sometimes those lines can be blurred and, you know, what somebody thinks is unreal can be real. And you know, and there can be levels. It's not, things aren't just black and white.
If there was one thing you can say about it, boom,
was that I was intended for larger things. I was the biggest thing Ashton had ever seen.
It's a quest on the part of the son, Billy Crudup, to discover who his father really is. He only knows him by the grand, exuberant stories that he's heard.
Dad, I have no idea who you are, because you've never told me a single fact.
I've told you 1,000 facts. Well, it's what I do. I tell stories.
Ed's a storyteller, and he can't help just exaggerating a little most of the stories he tells. He's told stories all his life, and I play the older Edward. The younger Edward, funnily enough, is played by a younger actor called Ewan McGregor.
All the work I do in this film is playing Albert's memory of himself, where it's fantastical. It's just larger than life.
I just left Spectre and was on my way to discover my destiny, not knowing what that would be exactly.
He sees her leaving, the crowd are leaving the circus tent, and he sees this girl, and that's it. And he says, you know, some moments in your life, time stands still. And when he looks over in her direction and he catches her eye, the whole world freezes in time. And he walks through this frozen world towards her, but just as he's about to get there, it speeds up and he loses her.
Edward's rival, Don Price, comes along, sees Edward with his girl, his fiance, and goes nuts, crazy, you know. And I tell Edward, don't fight back. So Don starts beating him, and Edward doesn't do anything. He just stands there and gets beaten up. That's ultimately, for her, I think that's what makes her believe that this could be real.
Sandra Templeton, I love you and I will marry you.
It is about this man and his wondrous adventures in his storytelling. But at its heart, it has to be a love story. What I wanted to do was to find a way that you understood immediately that these two people were madly in love. And after 40 years or whatever together, they were still madly in love.
It's so mythical and sort of surreal, and it has this magical fairy tale quality to it. And I love that aspect, because I just haven't really seen a movie out there kind of quite like this one.
You know, one of the reasons I wanted to do this was because of the cast. And yeah, I always wanted to work with Albert. And I think Billy is a wonderful actor. And of course, Ewan, although we have no scenes together. And then everybody else who's involved, Steve Buscemi and Danny DeVito. And the main reason was to work with Tim. I really wanted to work with Tim.
You feel free enough to try and be creative with it, but trust him, knowing that he'll steer you in the right direction. And Tim Burton is that. And he's a perfect director.
I think the magic of it, the way the story unfolds, the story of this love, and the way the magic comes into the story and the fantasies weave in and out of the story. I hope they just go on this wonderful magical ride with Tim, you know.
In telling the story of my father's life,
Bravo Company, go!
Doesn't always make sense, but that's what kind of story this is.